Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, both Muslims and non-Muslims, welcome to the video. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Have you heard of Al-Qaeda? I'm sure you have. Have you heard of Boko Haram? I'm sure you have. Have you heard of Lee Rigby being butchered to death a year ago? I'm sure you have. I want to ask you another question though. Have you heard of a man from Birmingham, an elderly man coming from the masjid, from a mosque, and he gets butchered to death, and the same man that kills him plots to blow up a mosque? Have you heard of this? I don't think you have. Have you heard of a Muslim sister in Paris being kicked and she had to lose her baby? You haven't heard of this, right? Have you heard of a man from California, an old man who is an ex-army veteran? He drives all the way from California to Detroit to blow a mosque up, which has 500 members. Have you heard of this? No, you haven't. Please ask yourself this question. Why don't you hear it? When a Muslim is doing the killing, a so-called Muslim, it's all around the media. But when a Muslim is being killed, it is nowhere to be found and nobody knows about it. Why hypocrisy? Why this double standards? Please ask yourself why.
Did you know that last week, an ex-army veteran from California was arrested for driving to Detroit's largest mosque with a trunk full of explosives? Roger Stockham, 63, had driven from California to Michigan and had been drinking in a Detroit bar on Monday when he threatened to do harm to a Detroit area mosque. And a bar employee followed the man outside, wrote down his license plate, and called Detroit police. Police then found the man inside of his car outside the Islamic Center of America, where more than 500 members were gathered for a funeral. And in his car, he had a load of M80s and other explosives in the trunk. Now, whatever damage he was planning was averted, thanks to authorities. But the mainstream media has completely ignored this story. Now, just imagine if the same thing had happened, but the perpetrator was a Muslim man. His mugshot would be on every TV screen, every hour.
We see, brothers and sisters, there is a new murder that we want to bring to light that you most definitely have not heard of. And this murder has taken place during the World Cup. In fact, 2 days ago. Whilst we're doing dawah here in Brazil, we heard that Tuesday morning, a sister who was wearing an abaya with a hijab in Colchester, in Essex, was brutally murdered inside a park at 10:50 a.m. in the morning. She was walking and they murdered her. A guy murdered her in cold blood with a knife. Paramedics arrived, tried to save her at the scene, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had willed that she would not survive. And she died. But you know what's disgusting about this? Is that when the Daily Mail reported it, they didn't even mention that she was a Muslim. Exactly. Just said a woman, about 30 years old, was murdered today. And what's even more insulting is that the couple of places where we did hear the news, it's like they're trying to act like we don't know if it was connected to Islam. Yeah. It might have been connected to the fact that she was wearing Islamic dress.
They are using any excuse to not relate to Islam. But when a Muslim does it, they find every excuse to relate to Islam. Look at the hypocrisy.
And that's a very valid point, Akhi. But you know what? We're not going to leave you just asking the question of why. Yeah. Because we know what the answer is. The answer is that their media does things in their way, right? And when I say their, I'm not talking about the British media. I'm talking about the specific individuals internationally who have a global agenda, because we consider ourselves British individuals, right? On that note, we're Muslim British individuals. And we also have our own media. We also have access to basically put the message across and make people known of the troubles that are occurring. Yes. So I'm going to call some names out right now. And please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not calling these names out because I have a personal grudge against you in any way, shape or form. I'm calling these names out because I see you as individuals that could assist the cause of the Muslims right now. I'm going to name some YouTubers that are very famous and popular right now, that across all of you guys, you have millions and millions and millions of YouTube subscribers. And I'm a YouTuber myself. Don't worry, I'm not trying to get no claim to fame from you guys. I don't need none of that. With all due respect, I do my thing and we do it nice, alhamdulillah, and we're okay with our progress. But for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm reaching out to you, my brothers and sisters, in hope that you will respond to the call. I'm reaching out to Brother Fauci True. I'm reaching out to Brother Adam Saleh from True Story ASA. I'm reaching out to these hijabi YouTubers. There is some khair that you can do that we can both agree upon. I'm not attacking you, please. I love and respect you sisters in many ways, right? And I genuinely feel like you could benefit the ummah in a way where we can all agree upon it. So I'm reaching out to just I don't know which sisters, right? Yeah. I don't watch you guys to know these are the 3 sisters to call out. This is just what we've been informed by people who watch our stuff, that you guys are the most influential in the hijabi YouTube field. Yeah. So Sister American, Sister Dina Tokyo, and
Nabila B, Sister Nabila B.
Okay, yeah. And so
anyone that we didn't mention, all we are asking is, look, you've got followers. Just use that to talk about it, to talk about this, you know? If they can talk about us, our deen, and portray it as something that's really bad, and this is what our deen teaches, let's use what they use against them in a way where we can show the people the truth, you know?
So all we want you to do is make a video talking about this specific issue, exposing the media for having double standards when it comes to Muslims that are suffering, right? And specifically mention the issue of the sister who got murdered in Essex. And you know what? Specifically mention the issue of the Uncle Salim who got murdered just before the incident happened with Lee Rigby. Yeah. Because that happened around about the same time. Everyone heard about Lee Rigby, but no one heard about Uncle Salim, an elderly man who got murdered because of a racial attack. Yeah. So we're asking you, please make this video. And I want everyone to please tweet these 5 individuals at least, so they get this video and they can partake in the khair, right? I'm not trying to create division. I'm reaching out to you. I'm not being that guy like haram, haram, haram. I'm not being that guy. I'm being a guy like, let's come together and let's work together. You have a benefit, we have a benefit. We can come together and do much more benefit. I will leave you on one point. I put up a status about an issue that took place in Sri Lanka. Brothers and sisters were being murdered and massacred. The mosque was burnt. People were moved out of their houses. I didn't know about this issue until I had several brothers from Sri Lanka and several sisters emailing me, telling me to raise awareness. So I put up a status. One sister from Colombo, which is the capital of Sri Lanka, she dropped a comment that I want to share with you that really shook me to my core. She said, you know what's weird? Is that just recently, we were raising money for the Muslims that were suffering in Syria. And we could never have imagined that just a few days from that fundraiser, people would have to raise money for us suffering in Sri Lanka. Yeah. And you know what, brothers and sisters? That is exactly what the person feels like when it happens to them. You think that the problems are happening over there in the world till they happen to you. So don't wait to make this video when it happens to you or your sister or your mother or your brother. Actually, it has already happened to your sister, your mother, or your brother. Exactly. So please, my beloved brothers and sisters, remember, we're asking you to tweet this video to Sister American, Dina Tokyo, and
Nabila B,
Fawzi Tube, Brother Fawzi Tube, and Adam Saleh from True Story ASA. Look, I love you, man, innit? It's a love thing. It's not a beef thing, yeah? Come together, unity thing, yeah? I love you, lot. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Share the video. Remember, what's the message? Expose the media and raise awareness of the corruption that's taking place and the violence against the Muslims, and you know, encourage other Muslims to partake in setting up their own media projects, because we need this, of course, according to the Quran and Sunnah.
Inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Peace.